Andy, I see that you're on Zoom. Can you hear us? Or me?
Hey, Joe, I sent you a picture. Did you see Richard's deal? Okay, I got it. I just talked to him.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
He's put a lot of hours in to get that.
Andy, I don't hear anything from you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Okay. Oh, we're good. I think we are good. I do have Andy and Tom.
Yeah. I guess it's all.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, you have to ask me that because, I just.
Maggie, can you hear me now?
Yes, Andy, I can hear you now. I think
Okay.
it's just a little loud in here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, yep, Andy, I can hear you.
Perfect, thanks.
Yes. Okay, Jennifer, I am ready. We are recording. We're good.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I would like to officially call the City of Nisswa regular council meeting to order at 7:04. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item we have is to approve the agenda. I actually would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add 2 items under old business. Item 1 would be to just add the city administrator clerk / finance specialist job description update as item 2A. And then the second is to add the city administrator / clerk search firm contract update as item 3A. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is our consent calendar. A notice to the public that all matters listed are considered routine by the council and will all be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the council votes on the motion. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the consent calendar passes. Next up is our open forum. If there are any members of the public that would like to come up and address the council for any items that are not on the agenda, we limit to 2 minutes. You just need to come to the microphone, state your full name and your address. Going once? Going twice? Okay, we will move along and close open forum. Next up are our reports. We'll start with our city attorney. Tom, do you have an update for the council?
Good evening, everybody. Nothing new to report here tonight.
Okay, and city engineer?
We don't have any specific agenda items for you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move next to old business. The first item under old business is the Verizon cell tower draft lease agreement, fire station location. Stephen is our head of planning and zoning, and Tom Pearson, our city attorney. Stephen, I'll let you start.
Good evening, council. So the Verizon cell tower draft lease agreement is on the agenda tonight for review. I've had conversations with the city attorney as well regarding that matter. just an FYI to that. There were a couple items that we needed to plug in. We just got a couple blanks filled by Verizon for Exhibit A, Exhibit B on the draft agreement. Tom Pearson, anything that you think I should add in regards to this specific agenda item?
Well, only that, Verizon has just sent us today what they think is the final draft of that lease agreement. Previously, they had supplied a version that was not populated with legal descriptions and other particulars because it was early in the consideration. So they've done that now, so we'll have time to look at it, but we've also have probably an intervening issue that will stop us from, I mean, certainly we're reviewing that lease agreement now in preparation for whatever's gonna happen, but yeah, yeah, we have an appeal that just came up, I think, yesterday for the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustments, or the Board of Adjustments decision on the variances that were approved in November, and the Planning Commission's approval of the CUP. So we've got a petition to appeal to the city council, which we obviously can't hear tonight, so that'll have to be on the December agenda. So the final review of the lease agreement and the finalization of that, if that's gonna happen, we'll await the outcome of that appeal. I think makes the most sense.
So the appeal will be in December?
Yeah, there's really no choice. It just came yesterday. So that timing is what it is, but it doesn't afford you the ability, I think, to process that appeal tonight.
So those of us on the council did receive several, well, I'm assuming everybody received emails. I received emails related to the Verizon cell tower. I did email everyone back and said I would let the folks know at the meeting that I was in receipt of these. I did receive an email from one individual who is in favor of the tower. And then the others that I received, I think it's related to the appeal. They're not in favor of it. And there also was a petition. Some of those folks are here tonight. So are you saying it's not appropriate to let them come to the mic and address council tonight? We should wait until December?
Yeah, I think that's the best, because I just don't think you can take any action on it tonight. Given the timing of it, and
Yeah.
so, not to stop anybody from speaking to what they want to speak to, but it might be premature to speak to it tonight and maybe repetitive of whatever gets brought up during the presentation of the appeal in December.
I don't want to stifle free speech because I do see some of the people that sent emails here tonight. You did hear from our city attorney. If you feel like coming to the mic and you want to address council, you can. If you feel it might be redundant and you want to wait until the appeal in December, that's fine too, but I want to give the opportunity if anyone would like that. Okay, council, well, we'll go to council members on first and then council member Hall second.
Ms. Maggie, could you by chance pull some data for us as to when the tower was discussed in our past meetings? Just
Sure.
just knowing the dates.
Yep.
And if you're able to pull any supplemental information that was presented by Verizon during those meetings.
Yep.
I have a recollection, I haven't thought about this for a while, but 3 or 4 meetings where Verizon was zooming in.
Yes.
And if there's any supplemental information that they shared for us to review,
Okay.
please share that as well.
Okay. I'll
Good
work on that.
counsel.
Council member Hall.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, and maybe if we wanna provide like a summary of this, just because a lot of the questions that I saw in the email coming in, for instance, other locations in town, stuff like that, that has been thoroughly exhausted by city staff, by people over the years. This definitely is not a new issue. Maggie informed me earlier that it's probably been talked about for close to how many years now?
At least I would say 8.
8 years?
Close
to it. Quite a long.
Remember the alternate site that was talked about for downtown before
Yeah.
that got ruled out because of the DNR situation, so.
Correct. And so everybody knows there is a ton of information out on this over 8 years. I mean, a lot of time, work, energy, efforts have gone into this, and maybe, I don't know, directing them
Yeah,
to, like what Jesse said, to hunt up some of this information, see past meetings. You could probably get a lot of your questions answered from those resources.
And if Maggie's gonna go back and look through historicals and we're gonna do a summary, maybe just a high level, Maggie or Stephen, a high level timeline as well for folks, because I think that is a valid point. Last Friday, I was approached by a group of people that this was new to them, or they thought this just came up. And I said, well, no, I remember this is at least before I ever ran for mayor, because I remember coming to a council meeting and seeing it on the agenda, but didn't know how far along it was. So that probably is great all around for everybody to have full transparency, full information, and then we can come back in December. Councilmember London, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think let's push it off for a while and see what we got. Take a good look at it.
Okay, Councilmember Fraley?
Boy, how much time do we have? One, I was thinking when this was going through with the property over here, we might have 1 or 2 variances. 6 to me is way too crazy that they authorized, said good. The other thing too is I did have a discussion. Some people were asking why the tower could not go on to the new city land. 2 things. I'll address one thing. One is finding out that the city has a variance, an ordinance as to communication towers must be on city-owned property.
Sure. So we have a land use chart that designates what uses can occur where, and determines the usage pathway for permitting. Communication towers are only listed as a conditional use permit in the public and recreation district, whereas any other zoned property would be a prohibited use for that to occur.
Okay, sorry, Councilmember Fraley, go ahead.
And the reason why it can't go to the new city property is because it isn't zoned parks and
The current zoning designations of the recently acquired property are highway business and I believe urban residential. Neither of them meeting the public and recreation classification currently without entertainment of a rezone, so.
Would it be possible to inquire with the Verizon rep? I forget his name, but is it Brian or something?
Woody?
Woody, to inquire to see if Mr. Woody would be available to,
December.
yep.
the other thing too is I was wondering if we could, why are we going to the height that we're going? Because it's just because you go higher doesn't mean you get better coverage.
That was all figured out in his charts that he shared with us. I'm not sure if you were at that meeting, but he had all that laid out, the
Yeah.
coverage and the height.
Yeah, he
and
had some
everything.
DT propagation
Right.
data. I remember vividly a request came in for that to be proprietary data, not to be shared. I will have to work with Beal Consulting to find out whether or not they wish to reveal that. If they gave it to us with private information, how would you advise that I treat that, Tom?
Well, I think that's right, Stephen. Find out. I don't know how Buell Consulting, whatever contracts they have with Verizon about that information, but you
Sure.
certainly can inquire about that. Yep.
Seek consent to release and then bring it. A lot of this, the reasoning for it to be put to December instead of tonight's for the appeal specifically would be, I have to provide notice to all original parties in mail. The receipt of the appeal did not afford that for tonight's hearing.
Say that last piece again.
The receipt of the appeal did not afford time to put notices out into all the original parties, to let them know that an appeal hearing was being heard and a decision to be made, so.
But you're able to get it out.
Not only get the notices out.
Yep.
The information that you're requesting, that appellants can request.
So this needs to be in January.
Compilation of all
No,
that
December.
information.
Yeah, and when we come back in December, we were just talking about this, we asked for all those pieces. It's almost like a mini re-education piece at the beginning. Will be valuable to
Bring
have Verizon here as well, so that everyone can be hearing the same information at the same time. Does anyone else have anything for Stephen? Otherwise, we can move on to the next item.
Sure.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, next up, this is again, a continuation from old business. We've carried this over from multiple special council meetings. A discussion regarding the committees, but specifically this one was putting together a draft of the role of the personnel committee. So that is in everyone's packet. Just for background on this, we did reach out to multiple other cities asking for how they are structured, how their personnel committee structures, and we got multiple different documents back and took a look at all of them, compiled these together. Joe and I both agreed to this, so now this is coming forward to council for consideration. And Councilmember Fraley, you had responded, because I think I did pass it out last time, but we didn't have it in the packet, so we couldn't vote on it. You looked like you had, did you have comment or question?
On the draft of the
Yeah.
Personnel Committee overview?
Yes.
I kind of do. This might be a question for the city attorney, but, and it kind of is. So we have in here that the committee shall consist of 2 council members appointed annually by the mayor. If I remember correctly, in the past, yes, mayors have appointed persons to be liaison. I mean,
Committee members,
what's that?
committee members.
Yes. So, what I was wondering was, but that has to go through the council to
Yes.
approve.
It's the organizational meeting, Councilmember Fraley, that happens every
Right,
January,
and I,
right?
right, and I won't be there. I was just wondering, is that the proper way that should be, that the mayor appoints to all the committees? Or is it,
Yeah, I mean, it obviously takes a council vote to approve that, and sometimes those things result in changes to the plan proposed as far as nominations to committees, but certainly here, that's the way we've always done it, where at the organizational meeting, the mayor suggests appointments, and then that's voted on.
But the council has full
Council
ability to
approve.
be able to
Yeah, oftentimes.
modify that.
block it
tweak
and
that.
say no?
Oftentimes those conversations result in some changes to those appointments. Yeah.
Councilmember Fraley, I too see that same point that you have there. I don't see that necessary needing to be an appointment by the mayor. I think that can be by the council as a whole.
Yes. Just lost my train of thought. My question is, do we actually need a personnel committee? I mean, that's been discussed for a few years on whether we actually need a personnel committee. That's just a question I'm going to throw out there. That's the only thing I have on that one.
Okay, well, your first item, let's take your first, because those are 2 totally different things. So the first one, yes, we were just following the ordinances. Our city ordinances state that the mayor does appoint to committees and the council affirms. So we can change that language to match the ordinance, if council is in agreement. You brought it up, so,
As long as it matches the ordinance, yes.
okay, so we'll update this to match the ordinance. Any other bullet points? Because your second one is a totally different topic.
Yeah, that's a totally
Yeah,
different topic.
so
I was just throwing that.
what's
second
on
out.
here is to approve this.
Yep,
Right.
I know that was just
Yep.
that was a thought I threw out there,
Different topic.
but yes, that's where I'm at on that one. That was what I had on mine.
Okay, Councilmember London, do you have any changes, additions, deletions, input to this document?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, Councilmember Zahn.
I don't exactly feel overly comfortable with how this is laid out right now, strictly due to the fact that I feel like it's pretty broad. I will also echo Councilmember Fraley's point in regards to, we've had a lot of discussions regarding the personnel committee. We have gone from creating a set of guidelines or bylaws more or less for that committee to actually scrapping it as an entirety. I personally don't feel comfortable moving forward with having this much authority within the 1 or 2 individuals that are on there, based off how it is. We also do not have full-time city administrator / clerk yet, the deputy clerk as well. There's a lot of moving pieces. I don't believe that this is a high enough priority item to be able to drive forward for me to give my blessing to move forward with this tonight.
Councilmember Hall, do you have any input?
my input on it is being on the committee and especially over the last year, being asked all these various things or roles or positions, you know, during this intern time and having no guidance right now, as it currently sits, on exactly what we do. It's made it challenging for us as being on the personnel committee. So, this is what it is a draft. It's a conversation, it's a starting point, because, we do want to really get this defined, you know, so it works the best for the city and for future councils, because right now it's just been open-ended.
Yeah.
It's been open to interpretation from the way that it's being done now to the way it was done past with prior, people. Also to, talking to staff, why this committee actually started and got originated. I think that started way over here, and where we are now is way over here too, when this first started and the intent of this committee. And so that's why there just needs to be some discussion around it and this put together. I guess is when I've asked questions about it too, like to your point, Mark, do we even need it? Well, yes, it does serve legitimate needs and roles and purposes, but also too, I would say that there's a pretty big gray area, as we have talked to some other cities, the way that they operate, whatever, there is no cut and dry line. And so I don't know if we have enough time to maybe discuss this all tonight, or if it's something that we wanna schedule.
We can continue it.
Specifically talk about,
Mhm.
you know? Or I don't know if we cut our budget for the labor attorney, but you know, is it something that we wanna talk with him about or get guidance from the league on?
So I did reach out to the league as a
Okay.
part of this, right?
Yep.
Before you and I
Okay.
approved this final document. So what I would say is I've been on this council almost a year now, and just being completely honest, I feel like it's a constant ping pong game. People are here, they're here, they're here. Emotions are coming into play, right? And I've worked in a lot of organizations in my lifetime. I've been with some of the most prestigious Fortune 500 companies. I own my own small business. I led a political party, and there is a lot of dysfunction in the city of Nisswa. And we were asked, and council members on, you were the one that brought this up, of asking for some parameters, a description around it, right? So we took a stab at it and we did the right process, which is reaching out to other cities in the area, other cities around the state that are similar sizes, the League of Minnesota Cities, right? Talking with other mayors and folks that are a part of personnel committees, reaching out to the attorney as well, just to see if they had any input, but what they sent us, I think, it was totally in a different realm. So we compiled all that and came with this and are coming to a draft with council. And I don't know if council is sometimes thinking, you know, hey, this staff is coming to us about this, or this staff is coming to us about this, and they might have an issue with this council member or that council member. They might maybe not like how the mayor did this or that. And then are we adapting based on what personal people are coming and saying individually? Or are we looking at taking the people out of the roles, the personalities, and looking at what is the best structure for the organization? Because sometimes I feel that in my time here as mayor, that's where the city has failed. That's my personal opinion. We were just trying to help draft a structure and an organization and a guide to set the future city up for success by having some guidelines. If you don't have any guidelines, like Joe said, what are we supposed to do? It's like when we first came in on this, when Jenny Max was still here, it was like anything, any new hire, that all had to come through the personnel and sit down with that department head to talk about, hey, what are you, department head, what are you recommending for a starting wage and why, and what's the offer? And then it would go through the personnel to give their input, but ultimately it comes to the council, right? So it's really just a body that advisory. It's no different than the liquor committee, right? We might discuss things related to the liquor businesses, but ultimately the decision is made with the council. So we can put this back on the merry-go-round and kick down the road and wait until we have an administrator clerk, that's fine too. But it's like back and forth. We don't need a personnel. We do. Every other city around here has a personnel committee, and it's always the mayor and one council member. That's how it is everywhere that has one. If we don't have to do what everybody else does, we can do our own thing. But again, it seems like we just get into the weeds on some of this organizational stuff that doesn't need to be as messy as it is. If you're in a privately held company, it's not this difficult. Don't think we need to overcomplicate it. So if we're not comfortable approving the draft, or we want to go back and wait till we have an administrator clerk and we want to look at a new draft, that's fine. But keep in mind, people did put work into this, and it was with good intentions to try to set up organization and operation. So that's all I have to say.
I'd like to make a motion to table this item until further notice.
Well, second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 2A is the item we added, which is the city administrator clerk, financial specialist, deputy clerk job descriptions. Maggie had sent out an email to all of us after our last special council meeting. I was taking notes, she was taking notes. And I had sent Maggie back some changes, but I'm not sure the changes made its way to the rest of the council, because I received an email back that 3 responded approved. But in normal process, all the changes any of us submitted should have come before all of us to just take a look at first before approving. So that's all this is. The changes are minimal. It just adds the words in conjunction with city administrator clerk and or finance specialist treasurer in bullet pointed areas, and that is it. So you guys can take a moment to look at it. Again, these are not significant changes. They're just what I had captured on my notes that didn't make it into. So if there's a motion, if not, we can leave it as is.
I'm fine with the changes.
Is that a motion?
No, that's not a motion.
I'll make a motion to leave the job descriptions as is.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item up is ordinances, policies, personnel policy discussion. We left this on just so we don't forget it, that when a new city administrator clerk comes in, that they would go through that personnel policy manual. So I don't believe that there's a motion here.
Did we have any other ordinances that we were hoping to discuss as well? Such as the accessory structure? And I thought there was another one.
That was some planning and zoning, which I think Stephen is working on with some of these final changes that Chris Pence reviewed.
Okay.
Yeah, I can provide a quick summary on that. So working through markup, disseminating that to state agencies for review. There's going to be DNR shoreline rule that needs to be affirmed that we are not changing anything that would be less restrictive than the state mandates we are. One question I have, you brought up accessory structure specifically. What are you honing in on specifically regarding to them?
My only feedback on it was similar to the one I brought up to you in regards to the city sewer connection for
Mhm.
commercial versus residential, right? I feel like it's inappropriate to constrain a landowner in the city of Nisswa to only being able to construct a 2,500 square foot accessory structure if they have 10 acres, 100 acres, you name it. And I know you and I talked about this, it's the day old, we're gonna go to the highest end of the scale, but it still stands true though.
Sure.
If a farmer wants to come to town here and they got their homestead and then they got a 2,500 square foot chicken coop or cattle yard, doesn't make sense.
So I think what you're talking about is that that use table within the section 20-93 that designates the permitting pathway. Permit being a P, over the counter,
Yeah.
C being a conditional use permit through the planning commission. And a void cell being a prohibited use is, it's a land use chart specifically in that section. So the notion of introducing a use pathway that could allow it, subject to other standards like impervious surface coverage, other things. that maybe
Setbacks.
the red
But
table-
we already have that pathway. There's setbacks,
Right.
there's square footage, there's pervious coverage. That's all defined.
All right.
So yeah, I agree with Jesse. I know when the time frame, the background on the 2,500 square foot, and it just needs to go away. Bottom line. So that's my vote on it.
Second that.
Can I get a suggestion as to whether or not this consensus would be to have that as a conditional use pathway
No.
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 over the counter permit pathway?
Somebody coming in wants to build a garage, whatever, 3,000 square feet, whatever it is, like Jesse said, whatever, over the counter permit, get it at the counter, move on with life. We don't need to make it more complicated. If people own the land, we already have all the setbacks, all the previous coverage calculations, the heights, everything already defined in our current ordinance to allow this to happen. And this was allowed to be happening before. It was roughly about 5 to 6 years ago, this got put in place. We need to go back to the way it was. So it's already dialed in. You used to be able to come into the counter, get a permit for this and be on your way.
Sure. There's additional language in that specific section that talks about the relation of the size of an accessory structure to the principal structure on the lot.
Get rid of that terminology too. That needs to go. Just break it.
Any discussion?
I think a good pathway for this would be to bring it to P and Z.
Yeah, doesn't it need to go to
P&Z
P and Z?
Yes, but we gotta give.
No, when we met with Chris Pence, we set the rules and then it goes P and Z, not the other way around. Chris Pence sat in that room, Jennifer, when we went, and we set the rules, and it goes.
We're
P&Z.
setting direction. It's gonna go to P and Z for review. They're gonna provide any feedback, but it then comes back up to us to final stamp it, right?
Right, but all that language, all that terminology, all those additional limiting factors, even, the garage size on your current structure can only be X amount of size. Let's face it, in our area, people have a boat, they have a pontoon, they have the four-wheelers, the RVs, all this stuff. Just for knowledge out there, for people too, when was the last one that was denied for a variance for something like this? I can't remember. Now, we're still allowing people to do it, but we're making them jump through hoops for several months to come in and get a variance, but still they're granted the variance. Just in the last couple months, we've granted a couple different variances for this exact same thing. And all that we're doing is making it more expensive and drawing it out for somebody to get their building. And just cleaner pathway, simpler, and move on. So like you say, I would like to see determine, what I'd like to see is bring the language that was written prior to these changes with the 2,500 square foot structure, and also to the principal size ratio dwelling garage space, and go back to the old way.
Sure. So the ask, as I understand it, is to bring versioning information as it relates to principal structure size requirements, accessory structure size requirements, what the standards were when, on a timeline back to
19.
2000.
No, this all happened, this all happened within the last 5, 6 years. That's when this all changed. It was like, I could look up the date specifically and give it to you probably tomorrow, but it was,
Joe, was that all the shelves talk?
yes.
Okay.
It was about 6 months prior to when I got on P and Z, which was in the fall of.
Yes, so,
So safe to say timestamp the versioning analysis back to 2017 would cover the period.
yeah, there were certain people in town that want to do certain things, and there was, you know, I'll say it was actually a vindictive rule that got put in place to limit certain people from doing stuff, and it's gotta change.
Okay,
That
well,
information
let's,
forward.
let's
We're in
move forward.
411, Dad's in 413.
Who was that?
Who is talking?
It's Andy. He's
Oh,
on Zoom.
sorry.
We can't see him.
No.
What did you have to say, Andy?
Nothing.
All right, so I think we had a motion and a second on the floor.
Is that acceptable?
Do you want it
Based on
read,
discussion, I'd
read?
like to make a motion to revise the ordinance 29-3.
To bring information forward to the public hearing that'll occur at planning commission when we have the final draft pertaining to section 20-83 and 20-93 in current code. Those section numbers are a new organizational structure. We used to have it slightly different, like 4.6 instead of chapter 20, for example. But Municode should be able to assist me in tracking where that exists on those previous versionings. So I'll bring that information forward.
Yeah, second.
Okay, any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, 2A, 3A. 3A was the consultant for the city administrator clerk. Just to call out, Maggie sent this out to everybody. It's a questionnaire to the council from the search firm to fill out. If you guys didn't get it, so here's why I'm putting this on the agenda. Please fill this out and get it to Maggie if you can before Thanksgiving, because this is gonna start our search process off. There's nothing else there.
That's the
Did you
second,
email
this,
this? Did you email this out to us?
She did.
Yes, I did.
See, this is the second thing that you've emailed out that I didn't get the paperwork.
Yep. But Councilmember Fraley and I have filled it out and turned it in, so if the three of you can do it and get it to Maggie before Thanksgiving, that would be great, because then we can get the process going, with the search firm. Okay. Any questions on the doc? Okay, next up is the performance evaluations. There's not really a motion per se that needs to be made here. Maggie gave me the self-review that the employees had used in years past. We received like 20 of them from the League of Minnesota Cities, from what other cities do for the self-evaluation. And then for the performance evaluation, normally you'd have the city administrator doing this for all the department heads, but we motioned to do it. So you don't have to use this evaluation form as council. You can write things on a piece of paper. You can do what you want, right? It's up to council's purview. But it's just on here to see what was put together and compiled. And again, if the staff wants to use the existing form, that's fine too. We just added a few things based on other forms that we received from the 20+ other cities around the state, but there really doesn't need to be a motion here. It's just for information.
Did we make a council motion in the past
We
to
did.
proceed forward with?
Yep, and to do the reviews
evaluation?
before the end of the year. But again, it doesn't have to be a specific form. It can just be,
So the employees are going to be able to make their own decision to be able to choose which form they do?
yeah. Yep,
And is the intent for the entire council to be conducting
Yeah.
these
Yep.
reviews?
yes.
Will these meetings be open or closed?
If the employee requests them to be open, it'll be open. Otherwise, they will be closed
Are we targeting the month of December?
before year end. So we can either try to do it in one day, or we can try to split it into 2 days, because ideally we'd think maybe a half hour for each one. And I think there are what, Maggie, 8 or 9?
I believe 8.
8.
Hmm.
So I think Maggie did send an email asking for some date availability from everybody as well. If you guys can just get back to Maggie, so then we can go from there, that would be great.
Okay, can I ask one clarifying question, please? You mentioned, Jesse kind of touched on this, like for staff to use the one you presented or
You can use the old one.
can I just have direction from council so I can send it out to staff so there's no questions on our end on what needs to be done, please?
Do you guys have a preference of which one? Do you want to just
No,
use the old
no.
one?
Can I just jump in here real quick? So when I was looking this over, to me, it was a little too much. And some of the questions in
Well,
here,
that's not, the second page, sorry, that wasn't supposed to be there. That's just a,
the second page is.
yeah,
okay,
it's just the
first
front
yeah.
page.
See, yeah, because I'd like to make it simple, keep it simple.
Yeah, no, the second page, that was my mistake when I
Yeah.
sent her a
So
document.
if I look at the employee self-review, have these been done in the past?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't remember. And they're approved by the unions, correct?
No,
Yep.
Do they need to be?
No,
I don't think they need to
I don't
be.
think they need to be, Councilmember Fraley. Self-reviews have been done in the past and they're widely used with other city government employees all across the state.
Right,
It's
right.
standard.
I know they use them military, private, so forth. If it were me, we usually asked, what were your goals last year? Did you meet them? What are your goals coming up? Where do you have areas of improvement? I just like to keep it simple, but that's just my opinion.
So then you would want to make a motion to use the existing form.
I so move.
Okay, is there a second? Because that's what the existing form says. Okay.
Did somebody second that I missed?
I'll second.
All right, any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. Next up, we have the Spirits of Nisswa lease discussion. So for this, we did hold a special council meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago now, specifically related to this topic. So as you all know, the Spirits in Nisswa building is, we're renting from Schaefer's over on the other side of the Schaefer's parking lot, and they are doing an addition expansion to the building. So Schaefer's has presented the city of Nisswa with an amended, which is called the third amended lease agreement. This was all part of our last council meeting and discussion. Due to the addition, that they're building over there, it would shift some things around and build a loading dock area at the other end of what will be called their strip mall. Right now, Spirits has a door coming in for deliveries. And then there's a new sidewalk out front, which is a heated sidewalk. So the city was presented with it's called a third amended lease agreement. And the two material changes in there were related to the rent per square foot. The city of Nisswa is currently at $17.90 per square foot, and that third amended lease agreement brings that up to $21 a foot. And then the other change in there was, I think our current lease expires, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, it's either 28 or 29, and the new rate moving forward for an additional term would be based on the CPI at that time.
Nailed it.
Correct, okay, I remember that well. So anyway, that was a discussion, and then there was discussion about, is the city required to sign this third amended lease agreement? Does the existing lease at the $17.90 per foot, with the addition or ability to extend the lease, prevail? And I do believe Andy is on via Zoom, and we did want to hear from our city attorney. We had talked about this within the liquor committee, but I think interpreting a legal lease document, that interpretation would fall more to the attorney than the rest of us up here.
Do you want to hear from Andy first?
Andy, do you have anything you want to add first before I go to our city attorney?
Well, in that last meeting, it was stated that we were going to have communications between the city attorney and I've heard nothing.
Did you hear, Tom, or no?
I think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then we'll turn it. Andy, did you have anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Tom.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to frame this, right? I've had no conversations with Andy about this since that last meeting. at that meeting, there were a bunch of different topics discussed, including whether the city would be interested in taking some extra space in that expansion. And I think the council ruled that out because the scenarios that Brian put together for increased revenue that would be needed in order to offset the additional lease payment for extra space didn't seem to make sense to the council. So at that point, in my opinion, it got to where you basically were ruling out the idea of an amended lease. Because the amended lease would really be meant to cover any additional space you might be willing to lease, but you ruled that out. There was a conversation that took place at the end of that meeting. It had to do with that sidewalk and had to do with really involving the way that that building is taking its deliveries now with a door that's on the southeast side of that building. Andy made a comment about with the expansion would, I think, negate that space and would force Spirit's store to take its deliveries in a different way than it has taken them throughout the whole time of this lease, which goes back 20-some years.
Through the front door.
Right. That was right at the tail end of that conversation, which kind of turned everybody sort of sideways a little bit. And then I think the council then made its motion not to lease extra space. And then I think that's at that point, it was give it to the city attorney. So I have not had any conversation with Andy about any of that. My opinion, if that's what people are looking for right now, if I've framed this correctly, is that we have a lease and it has 2 more years left on its current term, and then the city's ability to extend it again in 2029 with the appropriate notice. That lease includes an escalator clause, the CPI clause that we all know about. That's always been in that lease since the inception of that building. It's a huge, obviously important thing for the city to have that escalator determine what an extension lease rate would be. The third amended lease that was put in front of you not only suggests that there will be added square footage now for the current space, but it also removes that CPI language, which dictates what the extension lease price will be. My opinion on this is if the city doesn't want to lease extra space there, which you did rule out at your last meeting, then we have a lease. The lease defines what our leased space is. Project plans, going back to those project plans from over 20 years ago, define what that space is. If the space is now going to change in any shape or form because of the expansion, that would need our consent. And the main driver here is that delivery door on that southeast corner. If that's going to be blocked off now by an expansion, in my opinion, that violates the terms of our current lease. And there would need to be some provision made in that expansion that would allow us to continue to take deliveries the way we've taken them, whether that's through the loading dock, through that back hall, to the existing door, modified as it needs to be, whatever it might be. But the city can't be in a position of having its lease space modified now because of this expansion and be told that it's going to take deliveries in a way that is different than it has for the last 23 years.
Do we have any questions or comments for Tom?
Yeah.
Councilmember Hall, go ahead.
So is there any language in the lease right now that allows Andy to make improvements and charge the city for any improvements on the property?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yep. Not without consent
Correct.
on the front end.
It would be a modification.
Right, yeah.
yeah.
So then the next question would be, you know, I'm not on the liquor committee or anything, but when the construction has started in the plans, you know, did the liquor committee have these meetings, these conversations with the Schaefers prior to the construction about like the back door access, the loading dock? You know, did the city engage with Andy on any of that at any meetings to discuss this on the front end?
I think the term engage needs to be kind of cleared.
Yeah.
I think that there had been conversations that turned into talking points for the liquor committee. There was nothing that was derived from those that gave, from my perspective, that gave any direction from anybody on the liquor committee to Andy or the Schaefer family for that specific expansion that would have warranted a third amended lease, specifically even in regards to any of the amenity changes to the property. Conversations with Brian, there was nothing that was formally put down in regards to a request or that would have been blessed by not Brian, because he doesn't have the authority to do so, or the liquor committee as a whole, the council. It was trying to, we explored that, trying to find any potential avenues here before was this third lease amendment applicable and appropriate. And from my perspective, everything that I found or through conversations, it was not.
Yeah, I'm just asking questions. And so then also too, I know the building was removed for the extra storage, correct? You know, right? We had the outside storage.
Oh, just to clarify this for everyone in the audience or listening, if they're not aware, there was an additional storage unit behind Spirits, not like a truck, but you know what I mean, to store extra storage in because the storage room was small. So that's what Councilmember Hall is referencing.
Right, and so with that, do you have storage needs, you know, what, you know, what the loading dock, I looked at some plans, you know, back there, is there storage in the loading dock now, or is that not part of the conversation even?
This specific line item is just about this third amended lease. So the next line item is about, or number 6 under old business is the expansion. So that, I think, Joe,
Is that the
that's what you're talking about, but this is specifically about the third amended lease agreement. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to get a clearer picture
Yeah.
on what's taking place.
And they're separate, but yes,
Right.
there's some overlap, but yes, that is where we were trying to get clarity, a position from our city attorney tonight, you know, basically around, you know, is that third amended lease agreement, the lease that is in place for the city moving forward based on the building changes, or does our current lease agreement stay in place, and does that have, like, I don't know what the right word is, legal priority?
Well, we have a current lease and we don't have any motivation to change that lease. Given decisions you've already made about any extra space, the extra space is what would have driven a third amended lease because you were incorporating more space. If you were to do that, you ruled that out. If there's a building modification of some kind in conjunction with this expansion that needs to be made in order to allow that store to take its deliveries in the sort of fashion that it has somewhere in that rear area. I guess my assumption was that when that loading dock is constructed on the east side of the expansion, Spirits would take its deliveries through that loading dock, down that back hallway to its currently leased space, and there would be a door constructed there in order to take those deliveries that would replace the current delivery method that is in place now, which is on the rear of that building, but that won't be apparently feasible anymore. So to that extent, would the lease need to be modified? I suppose in a minor fashion, just to articulate the fact that that's where deliveries are being taken through that loading dock, down that back hallway to our space. That's the way I've looked at that. Maybe that's not correct, but that's the way I've looked at that. And that's why I was taken by surprise at the comment about you'll be taking your deliveries through the front door when the expansion is done.
Do we have any other questions, comments, input for Tom from any council members? Bruce? Nothing? Mark? Andy, were you able to hear the conversation on council end?
Yes.
Okay, do you have anything additional you'd like to add?
There's a huge disconnect here, and I don't understand why.
Around the amended lease or the existing lease or both, or,
Going back 5 years to when we first started talking about this, 3 for sure. Joe was even a liaison on the liquor committee. This has all been talked about. None of this should be a surprise. It's been in front of the liquor committee with a different mayor, different, I don't know, liquor committee liaison, or I guess pro tem or whatever they call that. And then just Tom said that you guys voted not to take any more space. I don't remember that at the last meeting either.
sorry, the last part, you said you didn't remember the council voting not to take more space?
Correct.
Did I mischaracterize that? Maybe I made a mistake.
That was the discussion we had.
So my
My under-
understanding of it was, but mine might be off, so we'd have to ask everyone up here, was that, yeah, at that time, at that special meeting, the council voted not to take more space, but I thought Joe had brought up, he was voting that because he wanted to see the financial business model around it. If we were to take more space, how much, what would those financials look like? What are the products that you'd put there? How would, right, but I might have misheard that.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not on the liquor committee. When I was on the liquor committee, it was very much the motive of Brian to increase the space, take more space, get more storage, in the back, because we just lost our outside storage during this. And so,
Could I add something to that?
yep.
You're correct, with the exception of knowing what the financial terms were gonna be on that. We looked back at that motion and we brought that up.
Yeah.
So
and
there was a caveat there. It's not carte blanche. Go forward with XYZ project expansion. We are interested in space, need to know what the financial terms are gonna be before we oblige the city to. Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm just, sharing what I knew, but obviously now there's been this year plus gap that I haven't been on there. And so I'm trying to get myself up to speed, which, yeah, makes sense, because it was gonna be a business plan, what the square footage cost was, like you said, Jesse, and so, I guess what I'm asking, and Jennifer is right, last time when I made the motion, like, yeah, if we do not have a business plan to go forward and show how acquiring more space is gonna financially benefit the city, then we just stay as is. But that's where I asked, has a plan been put in place? Is a business plan put in place? Because between the time I got off the committee till now, it seems like it's 180-degree swing, and I just don't know all that information in between.
I can add there, Brian went through a pretty elaborate scenario of 3 particular expansion per square foot scenarios of what Spirits of Nisswa would have to accommodate for an influx of sales for all 3. What other data was on there?
Well,
I'm
that was
maybe not-
the main data. It was adding the new rent cost per square foot, which I think is 25 in the new space and then goes to 27 maybe at year 3 or year 5. I can't remember exactly. So Brian did have different scenarios, but I think so I'm hearing everything here. I think what Joe is saying is asking, so Brian did put together a spreadsheet with different scenarios of, if it's this and we take this much space, here's how much our rent goes up. We'd have to sell this much more to be at a break even point, right? At that. So he did those different scenarios. Now that hasn't been presented to the full council yet. I think that was just brought forward to us at liquor committee, but I think what Joe was asking
Yeah,
before,
so-
yeah, share that, but also what are the what are the products? Would you be adding more coolers for beer? Would we be adding THC? Would it be more wine, right? Like, I think Joe was also asking, what does that product mix look like? In addition to, again, only those of us on the liquor committee saw that. But going back to right, because we're getting into the expansion discussion, going back to what the agenda item we're on, the Spirits of Nisswa lease discussion, it seems that there is a difference or a disconnect here between however it happened, whatever the history is, right? Andy seems to have a different understanding than perhaps our city attorney has. Andy is not here. He's on Zoom. I'm not trying to kick the can down the road, but I'm just asking, in fairness to the situation, Tom, I'll ask you, does council need to make a motion here around this, around the lease? Is it better if we bring this item back up in December, perhaps maybe when Andy can be here? From a city attorney perspective, what would be your guidance?
Well, just from logistics, it's hard to talk to Andy when he's on Zoom, so it would make sense to me to have this conversation continue in December. But regardless, I don't know if there's a motion to be made at this point. You were asking for an interpretation of what the current lease and what our rights are under it. And I think I sort of summarized that. If there's further conversations to be had about potentially looking at leasing extra space, then that can be part of a conversation, certainly.
I think some of Tom's point without him saying it, so I'm gonna paint a little different picture. I don't think it's the position of the city attorney to make that decision for us, is what his point is, if I'm not too mistaken with that. It is for this council to decide. And if there's more time or information that needs to be had, then what would it be for? Otherwise, what?
Yeah, no.
So who am I
think-
supposed to talk to?
Come to the next council meeting.
So,
Yeah, I think
but
We had a special council meeting for this and you guys didn't talk about it.
we did. We had a special council meeting specifically to discuss the leases at that time, because there were two different leases, a third amended lease agreement and the shopping center lease agreement, and then also our existing lease agreement. So we had that meeting. Now we're having this meeting.
Well, at the end of the last meeting, when we talked about all this, was a little bit of a surprise that came, at least to me, about the idea that we would be taking our deliveries through that front door.
That
And so-
surprised me as well.
And so to me, it would make sense to have a discussion with Andy present here in December so that we can understand what his intentions are if the city doesn't choose to modify a lease.
Okay, then,
and so just clear, I think all this helped clarify up the lease discussion tonight. From me though, and asking my questions, I'm still, some of the stuff just got presented to liquor committee, which is great and fine. And it seems like a decision got made there to not do anything or.
no decision. Well, let's close out item 5 so we
Okay,
can move
and
to
then
item 6.
Is item 6 the?
Yeah, that is.
expansion?
So
Okay.
if council's okay with it, then let's continue this lease discussion to December when Andy can be here, so we can have the conversation that we've been having, but is difficult and probably not completely fair to him to have over Zoom. That's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Now, Joe, or Councilmember Hall, the Spirits of Nisswa expansion discussion, you were asking, this wasn't yes, I've seen it. I'm assuming Councilmember Zahn has seen the financials, but there wasn't a vote or a motion or a recommendation to council. So if we want, we can also continue this one to December and have Brian in the packet present those financials, so every council member has equal visibility to it and can come back and have discussion on that.
Yeah, so that was my original question, a month or so ago, is there any plan put together, any path moving forward. Where are we at with it, you know, since I haven't been on. So that was my original question, kind of asking for that.
I mean-
So it seemed like maybe it's in flip-flop order. We're talking about the lease before, but the answer then is no, there is not. And then, you know, my question is then too, if we came to a no answer and we got rid of the additional storage, my basic question is, what are we doing now? We
Well, I-
got rid of our space.
I remember, if I remember correctly on the meeting when Brian stood up was talking, okay, if the lease goes up to this amount or the yearly have the addition, this is how much we'd have to bring in gross to cover that. I think also at that time, I might be wrong, but Brian said that if that storage connex was gone, that they would just cut back on the amount of sales or order. So that wouldn't be too much of a problem. If I understand correctly, or if I understood Brian correctly, he can correct me, and kind of a consensus is we don't want to expand, we don't need the extra space now. So let's not do the expansion. That was my understanding. So
Just a friendly reminder, please let me call on everyone because I get a lot of emails and calls after the meeting, like I can't tell who talked. So let me just call on you, but continue on, Councilmember Fraley.
Okay.
I will say yes. That was a discussion, Councilmember Hall, and Brian did say that he would just buy differently, he would find a way to make it work. But I think that there was a misinterpretation in what that vote was from you versus others on the council.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get myself up to speed with, you know, maybe the meetings at the liquor committee.
I'd make a motion that we don't, that we leave the spirits as is without an expansion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we are on to new business. The first item is the Wonder Trek Children's Museum presentation. Peter Olson.
I don't believe he had a death in the family, I believe,
Okay.
so I don't believe that he's gonna be here tonight.
Okay, thank you. We will pass on that. The second item under new business is pay application number 6 for the Gull Lake Trail. Amber?
Awesome. Thank you. Good evening. I'll be super brief and then Dave can step in on this one. This is pay application 6 for the Gull Lake Trail. We did reach substantial completion earlier this month. And so happy to answer any questions on this. We do have a punch list, kind of looking at spring items now.
Dave, do you have anything to add?
That's correct. We'll have some work to do in the spring, but all of the essential items have been completed so that the trail can be opened up for use. So we have the pay application in front of you. The amount for this recommended for payment is $97,583.23. And we're still retaining retainage for the work remaining.
Did they get done before the end of the month?
They did not. They got close to being finished. They were given basically a drop dead date where they would be assessed liquidated damages, and they were able to complete it within that time period.
Fantastic.
What about the fence?
The fence will be completed in the spring. Right now, there's a temporary fence that's been put up. It matches with the fence that Grandview has put up. So we think that the concern's been addressed from the standpoint of protecting the golf course from snowmobiles.
Any other questions from council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve pay application number 6 for the Gull Lake Trail for the total amount of $97,583.23.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is the Gull Lake Trail bathroom purchase. Amber.
Thank you. So if you guys remember back over the summer, we looked at amending the scope of the Gull Lake Trail project. The main point in this one was adding a trail to a bathroom at Nisswa Lake Park. We've been working through the layout and finalizing some of the budget, the quantities and all of that. And so we are here tonight. The Huff Cut bathroom was included in your budget with other quotes back in June, and this is what was incorporated into the budget that got submitted for the amended scope. So we have the submittals here and looking for council's affirmations to continue with the purchase of this bathroom. Now that the trail portion is looking at about 94% complete, looks like we have an estimated budget of 240,000. What we estimated at the beginning for this project was going to be 230,000. So this falls within the timeline and the budget as we predicted.
Where are the funds coming from for this again, Amber?
Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails.
And how much of that is dollars from the taxpayers of the city of Nisswa?
We had a matching amount of 80,000 on the 935,000 that was awarded.
It's a good bargain. Hopefully people are happy with it.
Hope so.
Any questions for Amber?
Is the intent of this bathroom to be open year round?
That is something that I had in my council reports over the last few months. It is not going to be open year round. That was the initial hope, but it is not going to be open year round.
Do we know the dates it will be open or?
If it stays on track with our other bathroom out at Between the Lakes Park, as well as the brush pit, it would close November 1st and reopen May 1st.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Gull Lake Trail bathroom purchase for the, oh boy, I lost it,
230.
$230,000.
Second.
For reference, the toilet does not cost that much money. That's the entirety of that.
Structure.
Yeah.
All right, any additional discussion or questions for Amber? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, next up is the local option sales tax resolution. Amber.
Okay, thank you. So in your packet, there is some background information. We've been talking about this for several meetings, months, it feels like. Included in that memo, there is some results of a survey that was conducted at the November 5th business info session. So you can kind of see a synopsis of some feedback we received there. Also with it, you have some preliminary draft information regarding the regional significance that is required to go along with a resolution. And then the actual resolution has already gone through legal review. So that feedback is incorporated into the resolution in your packet. When you're looking at the resolution, we had been talking with PFM. You guys did receive some of those bonding scenarios back in October. At that time, we did not have any discussion regarding the scenarios. So we took a conservative approach in what we put into that resolution based off of the scenarios that were presented as well as the estimated revenue. So you have a proposed tax rate of 0.5%, amount to be raised 10 million, and then estimated length of time was 15 years. Additionally, I just want to make note that last Friday, I did speak with our state representatives to let them know that loss was being discussed here in Nisswa. I originally sent them that press release that went out in October and then followed up with a phone call here last week in which they said that they are open to having discussions regarding funding opportunities and did note that this needs to be a united effort. So in that business info session, I half jokingly said this is a community-wide group project, but wholeheartedly, this is something that we need to work together if we're going to pursue this funding mechanism.
Do we have any questions for Amber from council? I'll start with you, Councilmember Hall.
Are there any current grants out there available right now that we're looking at pursuing?
The main grant that we have talked about in the past is the DNR Outdoor Rec Grant. That is $350,000 last year. I've not seen the updated criteria. So that would be maybe the largest grant we've looked at. There are some smaller ones that we're aware of, all require matching funds and various criterias. So yes, there are grants out there at various points throughout the year.
Are we going to pursue the DNR one?
That also ties maybe into our next discussion.
Okay.
Councilmember Zahn.
When you said united front on it, what does that imply? Or at least what were our reps implying when they said that?
I would say that we need to come together on this. We know that there's various opinions. We know there's various concerns with amongst council, amongst the community. If this is something we are gonna pursue, it cannot be adversarial.
If you go look at history with the state legislature and local options, they're looking for a 5-0 or a 7-0, right? A council vote. You
And
know,
they didn't say anything of that nature. But I would say, obviously, we have the opportunity here to vote and everybody's opinion deserves to be heard. You know, a council, you get the opportunity to vote. I would say if it's the majority that decide that it is to go forward, I see that as we need to be united with that decision. You may have your own personal beliefs on it, but as a community, as a council, it's a majority and we need to back what the majority decided. That's how I interpret it personally.
Okay.
Not that you
Not by
are gonna vote
with the
yes
legislature.
on it, but, that we cannot detract from the majority.
Understood. Okay. Is there any other feedback that they were able to provide us?
No, they just said they were open to discussions, be it lost or bonding or LCCMR, speaking of grants, like other funding mechanisms. They said they were open to having discussions with the city and how they can support.
Fantastic. Well, I hope we can take this rare opportunity and be able to pass a decision that this council doesn't exactly have the full authority to be able to make, but actually pass along to the voters in this town. I welcome those rare opportunities. So hopefully we can do it.
Councilmember London. Councilmember Fraley.
I have nothing. I agree with Mr. Zahn. I think, even if there's something that moves forward and not this and that the majority says, yeah, we're going to move forward with something. Even if I didn't want it, I'll still be supportive of it. I think with this, yeah, I'd like to see it go to the voters, but that's just where I'm at. That's it.
By the people, for the people.
Yep, I've stated my position before. It hasn't changed. I'm against the local option sales tax. I wrote an opinion piece in the Echo Journal and the Brainerd Dispatch as to why the business community is largely against this. But everyone knows where I stand. I haven't changed. Is there anyone from the public that's here tonight that would like to say anything about this before I call a motion here from council? If you can just state your name and your address, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I'm Ronald Dewey Jr. at 26735 Middle Cullen Road. You made reference to a committee that was being formed or is formed to help with generating funding or obtaining funding. We have 5 people from the community interested in doing that. They're very motivated. I've spent about 4 or 5 hours with Amber already. Trying to get a plan together so we can move forward with trying to get funds. I've not found anybody that wants a local option sales tax yet. It's another tax upon the other 1,000 taxes that we have to pay. Myself, I'm totally opposed to it. I will aggressively, be against it. I'll spend thousands of dollars to stop it if I can, because people don't really realize what that tax is going to be doing to us. Everything that we pay tax on now will be taxed another 0.5%. So it's another tax upon the many taxes we pay. I looked at my telephone bill and I think I've got about 5, 6 taxes on there already. So this is another 0.5%. You know, it may not be a lot to some people, but the population or the property owners in Nisswa consist of about 38% of people aged 60 years or older. So most of those are going to be retired, are on fixed incomes. And this is what I hear a lot. We're on a fixed income and our cost of a living allowance might go up 2, 3% a year, but our taxes keep skyrocketing. And we can't do it anymore, Ron. You know, we have to sell our properties. We can't be here anymore. And we've been here for 50 years, 75 years. The home has been in the family forever, you know, and now we just can't stay here anymore because we don't have the funds. I hear it from property owners on lakes, and then property owners in the city. Is pretty constant. What we have done with our committee is we have 5 members on the committee. I've spoken with XT Creative, Christine Ramler, in regards to creating a website to obtain funds for the park. That website in round figures between $2,000 and $3,000 for a year. That website is already fully funded by the volunteers. So we don't need any more funding to fund that website. If you folks give us a chance, I think we can get around this local option sales tax, you know, where we don't have to be putting another 0.5% tax on people. Give us a chance. You know, we've not had the committee yet. We've not had the connection between the city and the public where the public can try to generate or collect those funds for the park.
Thank you.
Question for Mr. Dewey.
I'll keep going.
Oh, well,
Yeah, I
let's
appreciate it.
hear from council members on, and then I want to see if anyone else wants to speak too.
Okay, I have a little more I'd like to present.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Dewey, I appreciate that and appreciate you all the time you've spent here with us. I know it's obviously picking up because your knowledge of the city and how it functions is very strong. So I commend you for that and the time you spent here with us. But let me ask you this, sir. I think you've heard our position, at least 2 council members up here have been vocal enough in stating that it's not exactly that we are 100% for a local option sales tax, is that we are 100% for it going to the vote by the people. Is that something that you and the others that you have spoken to are against, that you do not want it to even get to the ballots for the people to let their voices be heard?
I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
What I see is people aren't being told the inclusive truth about the tax. That tax can be used to create the buildings. It can be used to create the hockey rink, but it cannot be used to maintain it in the future. You can only build it. You can't maintain it with that tax.
Mhm.
So say, for instance, right now, we're spending about $450,000 for Parks and Rec, maintenance. Maintenance, I think, is that correct, Ingrid? Operating, okay. So say if it costs us another 250,000 or $500,000 a year when we start doing repairs on this equipment and these buildings, it's my understanding that has to go right to the levy. The taxpayers themselves have to pay to maintain it because it's been built through tax dollars. And that's the part that I don't think is being clearly represented to the people. So if we can kill this thing right here and now, I'm 100% in favor of it because I don't believe the property owners are going to realize the implications of the tax upon them.
I would like to say one thing too, because council members on you muttered of the people by the people, because I do say that all the time. If the legislature wanted the people to just directly vote, they wouldn't have set it up where this had to come through the council first. Because they are entrusting,
But let me understand this, though.
but that is correct. So
Every other city in the state of Minnesota that has gone through this same exact scenario has put it to the voters for the voters to decide.
not every other city where it's come up, there, it has died in councils before.
No, I understand that, but for the councils that have taken that initiative to allow the voters to be able to say yes or say no, why can't we afford the good people in Nisswa to do that as well?
And other people feel differently. I think it's like one of those things, people have perspectives on it and they have their reasons, and maybe you can convince some, but you're not gonna convince all, right? Like I might not convince you to view it the way I do. You're not gonna convince me to view it the way you do, and that's okay. We were each independently elected. We can each cast our vote and we will see where it lands. But did you have a few more things, Mr. Dewey, before I see if anyone else wants to address the council?
Real brief, yeah. Like I say, I don't believe that a committee has been given the opportunity to collect funds. You know, we're
Mr.
ready to
Dewey.
roll. Just get us a plan and we're ready to roll.
I'm gonna add right there though too, sir, is tonight's the first night I even heard that there was a committee formed. So I commend the people that are doing that. That is fantastic. It's a great step in the right direction. But as one of the 5 council members up here, I found out about that tonight as I was sitting here. Right?
Right, it's a new committee, exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And I am 100% for the taxpayer. I'll stand up for you guys anytime I can. And that's what I'm doing right now, trying to prevent another tax being put on the people, because I believe we have a lot of business owners who are willing to donate to this park. And I don't think they've been given the chance. Because when I talk to people, say my accountant, for instance, I'm asking him specific information about certain things about this. And I tell him what we're doing, and he says, yeah, I love the park. I go there. I'm willing to donate. I didn't know about this. So there's so many people that don't know about it. And those are the ones that I think we want to reach, you know, and they haven't been reached. So why just put that tax on them? Just boom, you're going to be taxed for a park, you know? And the park to me is a want. It is not a need. The taxpayers don't need a park. The taxpayers might want it, but the rest of them who are on fixed incomes, they don't need it. You know, I can see taxing for roads, okay? You need roads, you need infrastructure, you need employees. I get that part. But we don't need a park. We want a park. And people are willing to donate to that park. Give us the chance.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on the local option sales tax? Fred, come to the microphone, state your name and your address.
Good evening, Fred Heidman, 4794 Central Avenue. You know, this park is really a big issue in many ways. And, you know, we have a park that's fairly dilapidated, getting there, getting more so every year, probably needs some work done. And I don't think there's too much denial to that. There is the question of what does the city do? And, you know, the city can do nothing. The city can levy the whole amount, whatever that is. The city could seek through fundraising, as Ron brought up, and see where that goes. And then there's the city tax. And I think, you know, I would just like to share that I believe you know, that there, and I agree with Ron. Once whatever it is built, what's it going to cost to maintain? I mean, you know, we had a budget meeting tonight and it's like, my gosh, dollars going everywhere. Where do we get the money? How much do we raise the taxes? This park improvements are going to add to the city budget. Now, when I say that, I'm not against the park, but I do think that we really need to take a look at the really big picture. And if there's a group that is interested in fundraising, that might be a good start, a good place to go. Maybe a city tax idea comes late, that discussion comes later if funds being raised don't add up. I have just from past experience being involved with the city, I tend to, I shouldn't say I tend, I know that when a project is started and it starts to move, if it doesn't meet expectations, the city almost always has to step in and pick up the bag and dole out the money. It's happened in more than one instance in the city. It'll happen again. I think there's just so much to discuss. And I think I do really like the idea of this going out to the taxpayers of the city to get their input. I think that's really important. But before that happens, or I should say, if that was to happen, there needs to be a lot of things discussed, put down on paper, so that when the citizens get a chance to give input, that they actually have all the information. And it's not just, well, maybe there's a group that'll raise money. But what happens, do any improvements start with the park before we know if there's any money? I mean, it's a very deep well. And I would just encourage, I know we have a great council, we have a good mayor, and I know you guys are smart, and I just hope you take the time to gather all the information, get it so that all the answers, that you have all the answers, the citizens can get the answers, and then it looks to move forward. I commend Ron in this group, but just as an example, if the council was to say, okay, like tonight, you guys just go for it. What are they going for? How much money are they looking to raise? If they raise 2 million, is the city going to put in 2 million? There's just so much to be discussed and figured out. And maybe we just need to take a little slower, and work our way through this step at a time. Thanks.
Thanks, Fred. Is there anyone else? If not, I think we'll see if there's a motion. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
I apologize, I forgot one thing. The next topic is park transfer discussion. And I've spoken with two of our committee members. If this council dedicates a certain amount of money, the number that was passed around before was 500,000 to 600,000 for the playground. If that happens and that's approved, I believe our committee will move forward with the tennis and pickleball courts. And then maybe we can put both of those into the first phase and get both those done at the same time. Amber, who was great to work with, I think she suggested somewhere around 450,000 to 500,000 for the pickleball and tennis court. That would be a goal that our committee would be shooting for to make that happen. And it sounds like it's going to be a year or so, before anything might be built. So that would allow us a lot of time, and we would shoot for getting those funds much before, 1 year. We could be in communication with Amber and the council, as things progress. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, council, do we have a motion as it relates to the local option sales tax?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the local option sales tax resolution as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote on this. I'll start. I'm gonna vote no. Joe?
No.
Jesse?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Amber. While you're still up, park transfer discussion.
Yes, thank you. Ron already highlighted a lot of those things for me. But just to go over some of my notes here, the November Parks Commission meeting, there was a very healthy discussion about what's been done and what the plan is going forward. And so a piece of that discussion was in regards to who's leading who. So Joe, we've talked about there's no plan, and as Ron kind of talked about, we all need some guidance here. And so at this point, the Parks Commission plans to discuss, so we're going down like a lot of avenues here still with the last motion. But at that point, we were planning to discuss any phasing that would need to happen as we go forward, as well as what funding requirements there'd be. So, then we would, if we're still looking at a funds transfer, we would bring that recommendation to city council. And then I was just also gonna notify you that in the last couple of weeks, literally within the last 2, this group of individuals have started coming together. And so they've had a few meetings, to my understanding, in their discussions. And I think one of the things that they talked about was just understanding the plan better. And then maybe we need to look at next level, like site planning. So just coming back to you guys,
Amber, what does next level site planning mean?
so right now we only have existing conditions and a concept design. So trying to lay out things a little better. We know where some of our conflicts exist
Oh,
with existing conditions and like the proposed plan. So how do things need to move?
a revised park design for?
No.
Okay. So
No.
what's the difference?
And so
Sorry.
just looking at like the footprint of everything.
Okay.
So we have the concept, and Joe, I know you've talked about having, the sequential order of some of these things. But ultimately what I'm trying to say is they need more concrete plans than concept design. That's the feedback I've been given from the committee. And obviously to get anywhere on any of this, we need to move past conceptual. There has to be, just more dialogue. So I'm bringing it to you guys. I did not put this item on the agenda, but I do want you guys to know that the Parks Commission has been discussing this. That number was thrown out there, and so wanting to get direction from council to bring back to the Parks Commission, if you are in agreement on these next steps for us to look at phasing, funding, what I'm looking for feedback. This committee's looking for feedback. We want to try and get the Parks Commission to work through that.
Can I interject real quick?
No.
All right. Councilmember Fraley here. So at the last Parks Committee meeting, since there were only 2 members there and me being the liaison, I was the 3rd vote. And the committee was ready to bring something forward tonight. I didn't feel that it was in my position as a council member to vote to bring something forward to the council. So, but yes, they're working on phasing it, where to go, and getting more detailed plans so the committee can go, what they want and everything.
Yep.
So if I understand correctly, since we're moving forward with loss, there's no more committee.
It's,
I can't hear.
Ron said there's no reason to move forward the committee if the local option sales tax is moving forward. Ron, I will say this, it's not necessarily moving forward. It passed with a 3-2 vote. I used to work in party politics. I will tell you, the legislature doesn't like carrying a bill forward with a 3-2 vote. They wanted to see a 5-0 vote.
Yeah.
And something else might have been hurt. We need to see what happens with the legislature, right? Because it's not necessarily coming back yet. So, but that's a decision for you guys to make. I'm just sharing that. And I know you know the representatives, so you're also welcome to reach out to them and see if you have a different understanding than perhaps Amber did, or perhaps my experience historically with how things work this way.
Yeah.
Right? Things could have changed, so.
Yeah, I see the conflict in the finances. If the local option sales tax is moving forward and we're trying to get funds, it's going to work. This is what's going to happen with us. It's going to be so much more difficult for this committee. So until we know what's gonna happen with the local option sales tax, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars pursuing,
Understood.
this, and I was willing to spend thousands of dollars to
Yep.
pursue the funds.
It's a fair position to have and it's understandable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a word here too?
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm also on the committee and just now realizing apparently some council members didn't know. Back in June, I had a committee of people that met with Miss Carnahan and Miss Amber about fundraising, and we hadn't heard anything back. Now we have formed another new committee after this, and I agree with Ron that until this is done with wherever it goes from here with the local auction sales tax, there is no reason for us to move forward and raise money, especially without a plan, as Amber was talking. So once again, we have had to table stuff in this city.
Thank you, Andy. Amber, sorry, did you? No, I lost where we were because of all the.
I'm looking for council direction here. We have a
Oh,
lot
are you-
of people
Oh, is that Bruce? Sorry, I can't see.
trying to understand how to help move this forward, and we're going down multiple. We were going down
Yep,
multiple.
I think Bruce wants to address the council.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Bruce Holt, Wooddale Road, Nisswa. I'm also on the Parks Commission. I would say, I've heard a couple of people compliment Amber, and I would, having been on the Parks Commission since February, I would do the same thing. She's done her job in terms of the community a few years ago put together this master plan, and she's tried to shepherd that through. Her job, though, is not to figure out how to pay for it. That's a policy decision. Ultimately the council's decision. When I got on the Parks Commission, though, that there was nothing happening. I mean, there was this $40,000 that had been pledged, but that was about it in 3 years. So the Parks Commission, trying to move this forward, trying to get something going on, suggested the sales tax option, because I think as a couple of council people mentioned, the a number of the cities, there's like 50 cities that have this. And I understand that Crosby and Pequot Lakes are looking at it now, but that discussion's fine. You guys already had that discussion tonight. I'm not here to promote that or not promote it. Actually, I was kind of surprised that it passed, to be honest with you, but whatever. So what I would say though is Amber's right. We need to get some specs done. You guys need to authorize that in order to move this forward, whether it's a sales tax vote or whether the people that are generous enough to want to do fundraising, however you want to do that, however you want to fund it, we need to get the specs done. And the Parks Commission back in June said the playground is the most immediate thing. It's great to have people that want to be interested in pickleball and tennis and the ice arena, but we feel as a Parks Commission that the playground is the most immediate thing, and there's no reason why, if there's a fundraising committee and people are interested in that playground, you can't raise that money and get that done next year. I mean, that playground needs work. And it's something that I think as a city of Nisswa, we would want to have some pride in at least having a nice playground. So I would encouraging you to go forward from this meeting tonight and authorize those specs. I did hear a comment about the maintenance. Well, whether you do sales tax or fundraising, you're going to have the maintenance on the equipment and the buildings anyway. So that's irrelevant. But if there's a committee out there, if there are people that are willing in the community to fundraise, I encourage that. Let's go for it. Let's try to get that playground done. But before you guys decide, here's why I wanted to come up on this transfer thing. And I've been through this many, many times when I was on the council in Detroit Lakes, and I've been on 20 different fundraising committees, and I would offer my experience and advice, having been involved in this over 40 years on different committees. There's a way to put that together. It's got to be more than a website. You got to have people that are willing to walk out and walk into a business, into a bank, into other businesses and knock on the door and say, I don't need 1,000, I need 100,000. I don't need 100,000, I need 200,000. You need people that are willing to do that. And if you can find the people that are willing to do that, that's great. But before you as a council commit to the transfer, to the dollar amount on the transfer, my advice is challenge the fundraising people first to come up with the number. And then, as I heard somebody mentioned earlier, if it's not going to happen, you haven't committed to a number that you now have to fill in the gap. And again, I was involved in that where some fundraisers didn't get done the way they were supposed to. And yes, the city had to come up. So first, get those people to challenge them, get the number out there. And it's got to be more than a website. It's got to be knocking on doors. And my last piece of knocking on doors is, I understand Cayuga Medical is building a new building down there on the corner. To me, that would be one of the first doors I'd be knocking on, right there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's hear from Emma and then.
Hi.
Hi.
Emma Kruger, A&W in Nisswa. I just want to say that the last vote was one of the most polarizing things that you could have done to your business community. There was a clear meeting that the city held with Amber at the lead. And the vote there by your business community in Nisswa was to not pursue that tax. And you just voted for it. We are a group of dedicated individuals to this town that have grown up here, that have lived here, that want the chance. And you just voted to tax us more, to tax our customers more.
Thank you, Emma. All right, we've heard from Amber, we've heard from folks on the Parks Commission, we've heard from the Parks Liaison. Is there interest from the council in making a motion to allow, to allow the Parks Commission to go forward with the specs for this playground?
Well, I
Or
think
any other type of motion?
Amber's looking for some guidance maybe before, but I guess I just have a couple thoughts. To, the group that's been put together, I think all the discussion tonight and a week or so ago at the chamber is actually positive. It's the most positive thing, even though there's very differing sides here. It's actually getting some attention, from everybody on both sides of the aisle or whatever you want to call it, right? And so, like I said over there a couple weeks ago, it's not an either or, but we gotta come together and figure out how to do it. In my opinion, too, the local option sales tax, just like Jesse said, which, I don't disagree. Let the voters vote on it, it doesn't mean that it's gonna pass. There's still so many hurdles for it to go. Also, too, if, the people, I would actually look at it as a challenge more than a defeat tonight. Like, hey, if we want to defeat the local option sales tax, let's see how much money we can raise and how quickly to show the community, hey, you don't even need to vote for this. So I'd actually go a little bit the other way and go look at it as more of a challenge and go, let's get this done quicker, faster with fundraising. So people in the community say, hey, we don't need to vote for that. That'd be my opinion.
Here, absolutely.
So that's, but I'm kind of excited about this, Amber looking for some vision, on doing this. I think, a little bit into this, I don't know who's on your group, who's on the committee, who's doing this, but some value engineering needs to go into this. We still have a pretty picture, but what's going over there. Also too, I think sooner than later, if we're getting to this point, before we take too many steps too far and get people's hopes up, I mean, yes, we do want to have a plan. We do want to specify maybe the top 2 or 3 things, but also too, at the end of the counter down there with Dave, we have an expert sitting here that I would think if we're finally here, I would like to start engaging on a high level. I'm not saying we need a lot of drawings or plans, but I'm just saying that, from their perspective on knowing how things would be built, what would their recommendations for building first, second, third, fourth be, just looking at it, high level, and how does that overlay with what the Parks Committee wants to do? And I guess I would say that would be my starting route, is to give this conceptual plan to WSN to just look at high level, to start to put together, this is what makes sense and why. and then how that overlays with you guys. And so that's what I would say maybe the first step would be. That way we don't get too far down and hopes and feelings are dashed when we get to that point. So start right
You-
away on, start
Okay.
right away on both fronts.
Is that a motion? Do you have a specific motion?
Well, yeah, I guess if we want to make a motion, I would say then that we'd want to make a motion to have Amber connect with Dave to go over the plans and Dave come back with a proposal for kind of a high level initial engagement with this for the council to review, to go ahead, as well as Amber to put together, you know, this committee with your top 5 or 10, and then let's see how they overlay.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right. We still have quite a few on here and it's coming on 9 o'clock. Spirits THC sales, Brian?
I gave each of the council members a sheet on THC sales, and this is compiled from the MMBA. I have 2023 sales on there, 2024, and then the first half of 2025. Now, this is not a complete list of all the MMBA, but this is a list that the cities were willing to share. So there's 31 stores on there. And if you look at those 31 stores, on an average for this year, they're selling $64,000 in the first half of 2025 per store. Now, I think that's not a shock to anybody, but I am not a huge fan of THC at all. I've been pretty much the stumbling block and why we do not carry it at Spirits in Nisswa. But I've always told the city that it's not my decision. It is the council's decision. And I just, for me, I have not wanted to bring it in because just, I don't love the idea. It's not, not the direction that I like. But going back once again, it's not my decision. It's your decision. And so I've always said there's money to be made on it. And it's, right now, I guess it's up to the council to decide if Spirits in Nisswa is going to carry it or not.
Do we have any questions for Brian? I'll start in this direction. Councilmember Fraley,
I have none.
Councilmember London, Councilmember Zahn, Councilmember Hall.
Question: in the liquor business, is THC one of the top new growing products within the industry?
It is, I would say, the fastest growing industry, the fastest growing sales for liquor stores, yes.
Do you have any sort of numbers on averages, you know, for stores that it's contributed 5, 10, 20% to their sales growth?
I don't have that exact number. I know numbers are being thrown out there. And I haven't seen anything yet that is in a double digit, but I would have to do more research on that.
And then, I mean, going back to maybe last conversation, you know, adding a whole new line. I see the lines in other places, businesses, whatever. Do we physically have the room in the store to add this whole new line?
Well, in every store almost out there, you have the players and the non-players. I'm talking products that turn and don't turn. And a person would just have to, sometimes you have products in your store because you want to be a full service store. And you don't want that person to say, well, I know they're more of a convenience type liquor store and they're not going to have this product or that product. So sometimes you carry slow moving items just so that you can make sure that customers are able to get all the products that they want and they can depend on you. Now, what we would have to do is we'd have to look and say, okay, which items are not necessary and which items are necessary. And I mean, the bottom line is, would there be room in our store? There would be room. I mean, I'm trying, even though I don't like the sale of THC, on a manager side, I need to try to give you guys all the information and, can you work THC into spirits in this way? You definitely can. I mean, there's no one saying that you have to have 30 feet of it. You could have 4 feet of it. You could have 2 feet of it. So that there's room for it, to answer your question. As far as exact percentage of sales, I don't have that right here. I do have this scenario on, the 31 stores on what they're doing for an average sales and what they have for gross sales of all their products, and then how much of that is THC. So, I mean, if a person had a calculator in front of them, they could figure it out on those 31 stores.
Is council interested in making a motion, or would you like to gather more information and push this another month?
I would like to make a motion to approve spirits selling THC.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Is there any discussion, additional discussion? All right, oh,
I'm just not in favor of it.
okay, I'll call the vote. We'll do a roll call vote. We'll go to Councilmember Fraley first.
Aye.
Councilmember London,
Okay.
Councilmember Zahn,
Aye.
Councilmember Hall.
No.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Okay, next up, if Tom Blommer is still on,
Tom is still here, I believe. He's still showing.
wastewater lift station #1 design and engineering proposal.
I'm guessing he's on his phone.
He's on his phones.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I think that was you.
I think that was you, maybe.
Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get my tablet to work. So what you have in front of you is a proposal for engineering for the rebuild of lift station 1. I believe Morgan Salo with Bolton and Mink might be there to talk about this. But
He's here.
Yes, he's here.
if you have any questions, he could probably answer them. If you have anything beyond what I will offer. So the proposal for the engineering is for $45,900 to do the work. That is a budgeted amount. We did have a unanimous vote by our Public Works Committee to recommend doing this work. And it would be a project that commences in the summer of 2026. And I guess with that, I would look for if Morgan has anything he'd like to add to that, or if the council has any questions.
Do you have anything you'd
Do you
like
have
to
anything
add?
you'd like to add?
Mayor,
Council, members of council, thank you.
Tom, you need to turn off
Hold on one
two
second.
devices or mute it.
I just muted Tom.
Okay.
So we won't.
Okay,
have the
go
echo.
ahead.
Apologies about that. So quick introduction, Morgan Salo. I'm a principal engineer with Bolton and Mink in our water and wastewater division. Excited to partner with the city of Nisswa looking at this lift station design to help facilitate growth within the city and continue to provide adequate water, wastewater services, with this lift station design and construction moving forward. So if there's any questions, I will entertain them regarding lift station design or a proposal. I'll be around for the rest of the meeting as well.
Does council have any questions? We'll start with our Public Works Liaison, Councilmember Zahn, anything?
No, I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve lift station #1 design and engineering proposal as presented by Bolton and Mink.
Second it.
Any additional discussion or any questions from the rest of council? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is wastewater sewer delinquent accounts resolution.
I can just speak on this. This is just our annual sewer delinquent charges for everybody or anybody who hasn't paid throughout the past year. That we just need to make a motion to approve this resolution, and anybody who is not paid by the end of the day on the 21st of November would be certified to their property taxes next year.
I'd like to make. You go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the sewer delinquent accounts resolution as presented.
Second it.
Any discussion or additional questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Number 9, the 2026 newsletter, we already,
You missed one.
I did?
Number 9, but it's not it's the a consultant to evaluate liquor operations.
Oh, I must have the wrong agenda because I just came and told you guys that was off the agenda. Okay. What is? Okay, thanks. All right. Number 9, consultant to evaluate the liquor operations. Councilmember Hall, you had asked about this being on new business, so I'll guess turn it to you.
So what was the question, or what do you want me to talk about?
Oh, the agenda item is a consultant to evaluate the liquor businesses.
Yeah, just that, with both the liquor businesses, with the city of Nisswa, obviously, we've got a lot of questions all the way around the liquor businesses, both with the spirits and the pickle in town, the future of them. Obviously, the pickle still needs something done with the building, and just to bring in an outside consultant to look at the operations of the liquor businesses as a whole, and provide us with some feedback on what we might want to do looking ahead, 3-year, 5-year plan, something like that, and just help give us some guidance on the municipal liquor business as a whole.
So do any council members have Joe asked that this be on the agenda, so there's nothing really in the packet for it. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Joe?
I think we can take it up at our next liquor committee
Yeah.
meeting.
And then come
That's a
back?
good step.
Does that work, Joe?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, sounds good. We'll do that. Then next is the 2026 newsletter schedule budget approval, but we already killed this from the budget in terms of the mailed newsletters. We're going to go to just the digital online newsletters for 2026. So
Maybe we'll have an
no.
maybe we'll have a donor to be able to throw some
Oh, yeah.
dollars out. Yeah. It's been a long
Okay.
day. My wife just had a baby, so I'm sleeping a lot.
Okay, so unless council has anything else, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is to set the organizational meeting for January 20th at 5. So we would just do that ahead of our regular council meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right. The next agenda item is labor negotiation strategy under Minnesota statute sections 13D.03 subdivision 1 clause B. A portion of the meeting will be closed pursuant to such statute upon duly approved motion of the city council. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the time is 9:06. The city council will now go into a closed session in chambers. Only the city council and authorized city representatives may be in attendance in any portion of the closed session.
I barely got consent to come here from my wife. What am I gonna miss? I mean, what's the hardest stuff?